Hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for believing in me. Like I promised, I'll always deliver. I'll give you marking scheme standard. Today let's discuss the development of the gut, development of the digestive system. Before I go further, please, thank you so much for the returning subscribers. For our new subscribers, I appreciate. Please subscribe, comment, like, make any comment. Anything you want us to do, or anything you're not comfortable with, or any corrections you have to, let us get to know so we can respond accordingly. Thank you. I trust you are doing well. Let's continue. Development of the primitive gut. The primitive gut tube develops during the week 3 to 4 by incorporating the yolk sac during craniocaudal and lateral folding of the embryo. The tube is distinctively divided into 3 portions: the foregut, the midgut, and then the hindgut. Now look at this. This is our ectoderm, the most superior one, and then the endoderm. Okay? Now, this is our amniotic cavity. This other portion is more or less like the cephalic portion or the buccopharyngeal membrane. Look at the buccopharyngeal membrane. While this other portion, okay, towards the tail, is our cloacal membrane. That is our caudal portion. Now let's look at this. The folding is either cephalic caudal as well as the middle portion of it. So this cephalocaudal and then the lateral foldings of the embryo will lead to the incorporation of endoderm. Endodermic line. Endoderm lines the cavity of the embryo to form the primitive gut. Okay, so this gut formation is distinctive. Look at this portion, the hindgut. Look at this portion, the foregut. And now the endoderm. See this purple-like colored portion, the endoderm, okay, is also incorporated. It's forced in. It's dragged in. So in the caudal and the cranial, that is the foregut portion, and the caudal, in the primitive gut form a blind ending tube. Look at this ending tube, the hindgut here, and now the foregut. So the primitive foregut or the primitive gut forms a blind ending tube called the foregut, this portion, and then the hindgut, respectively. But remember, I have mentioned the foregut still, okay, the hindgut. The hindgut is also could be referred to as the cloacal portion, or the caudal portion, while the foregut can also be referred to the cephalic portion or the buccopharyngeal portion because it represents the upper part, while the cloacal represents the lower part. And look at what we are referring to, or what are we talking about here. We are talking about the G.I.T, the gastrointestinal tract that extends all the way from the esophagus as far as the anal canal. Okay, so whatever we are doing, we are going to be focusing around that portion. I know this video is going to, I don't want it to be short or not too long, but I'll make sure I try to cover one here. Subsequent videos, maybe when we next I'm coming up, I'll come up with the stomach and then the adhesion, like that till we can get to the anal canal, since all of this cannot be captured in one video like this. Okay, so if you look at this, the D diagram. The mid portion of this is the foregut, the hindgut. The mid portion that's supposed to be midgut is trapped in, is associated with the vitelline duct or the yaw sac. Remember, I have said that the gut is divided into distinctive three portions: the hindgut, the midgut, and then the foregut. So, but in this particular slide, we have been able to notice the foregut, hindgut. But in this one, look at this one, the midgut is talking. So, in the middle part of the tube, okay, the middle part of this tube. Can you see the middle part? The middle part of the tube, okay. So, the middle part of the tube, the midgut remains temporarily connected. The midgut, the mid portion, remains temporarily connected to the yolk sac by way of this duct, the vitelline duct. Remember this? Please don't forget. So in this slide, we have been able to look at or to see our foregut, the hindgut, and now the midgut that has a connection with the yolk sac by way of vitelline duct. Okay, let's continue. Okay, development of the primitive gut and its derivative is usually discussed in 4 sections. So we're going to be discussing this in 4 sections. Now, the first, the pharyngeal gut or the pharynx, extends from the oropharyngeal membrane to the respiratory diverticulum and is part of the foregut. So this section is particularly important for development of the head and neck. But in this video, this number 1 is really not our concern because it doesn't really have much to do with the development of the respiratory tract. 2. The remainder of the gut lies caudal to the pharyngeal tube and extend caudally to the liver outgrowth. Okay? The liver outgrowth. Okay, so while the third portion is the midgut. The midgut begins caudal to the liver bud and extends to the function or to the junction of the right to third and left third of the transverse colon in the adult. Of course, remember that normally the midgut extends from where the liver starts, the liver bud, okay, and extend as far as the transverse colon in the adult. So the midgut, remember, incorporates the duodenum till the transverse colon. Remember that. Okay. So the next portion, the fourth one, the hindgut, extends from the left third of the transverse colon as far as the cloacal membrane in the developing embryo. But the cloacal membrane here, if we want to look at it, extend as far as the hindgut extend as far as the third portion of the transverse colon till the anal canal, the exit of the gut. Okay. Now the gut possess some inherent derivatives, and then the gut tube proper. So the foreguts involve the pharynx, the esophagus, the stomach, the proximal duodenum. The derivatives of the foregut are the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, the tympanic cavity, trachea, bronchi, the lungs, liver, gallbladder, as well as the pancreas. The midgut portion includes the proximal part of the duodenum till the right half of the transverse colon. There is no derivative. Of course, there are no adhesions on this portion of the duodenum till the transverse colon. Now, the hindgut involves the left half of the transverse colon till the anus, the anal canal. And only one derivative is found here, which is the urinary bladder. Also, please don't forget that these 3 regions are defined by their blood supply. They have been defined by their blood supply. Okay, let's continue. The foregut. Esophagus is the number 1. Now, when the embryo is about 4 weeks old, a diverticulum or a bud is found in the ventral wall of the foregut. Look at this. Ventral wall of the foregut. This is called tracheobronchial diverticulum. Look at this blue color. Tracheobronchial diverticulum. It can also be called the lung bud. Okay, so during development, when the gut is developing, there is this introduction or appearance of a tracheobronchial or bronchial diverticulum, also called the lung bud. Of course, remember, the trachea is in the anterior portion of the esophagus. So you shouldn't be worried while we refer to this as the tracheobronchial diverticulum. Of course, you know the trachea ends by dividing into the bronchus. That is basically what it means. So let's continue. Now on this slide, look at the development, the further development of the esophagus. Now this diverticulum is gradually partitioned from the dorsal wall of the foregut by tracheoesophageal septum. Please look at this diagram. A. The tracheoesophageal, there is a tracheoesophageal ridge, that is a division between the tracheal portion and then the esophageal portion. There is a bridge, a connection. Okay, could also be called a septum. So there is this separation between them. Now, consequently, the foregut divides into a ventral portion. The ventral portion is the respiratory diverticulum, and then the dorsal portion is the esophagus. This is the ventral portion, the blue-colored portion. Ventral portion, also referred to as the respiratory diverticulum, and this is our dorsal portion. This is dorsal portion, also referred to as esophagus. Now, in further development, look at the B. There is, you see, there is a complete locking here by the bridge. Now, there is an opening. Can you see this opening? There is an opening. So, at first, the esophagus is short, but with descent of the heart and lung, it is lengthened. Okay. So, but before then, look at, there is this connection here. Can you see this connection trying to separate the esophagus behind from the anterior respiratory diverticulum? With further development, at the end of the day, there is a complete separation. The esophagus is completely separated from the trachea. Okay, so there is splitting of the tracheoesophageal septum, separate them. The tracheoesophageal septum finally is let off, and then we now have our esophagus and then the trachea. When the separation is completed, you have to really note this because there is so much challenge around this separation. Sometimes it refuses to separate, sometimes it separates and then there is still connection, sometimes it completely occluded. So you need to note this portion very, very well. Oh God, I wish I would be able to finish this. So, at first, the esophagus is short, but the descent of the heart and lungs, it lengthens. It reaches its final relative length at the 7th week. Its epithelium and glands are actually endodermal in origin. What are we saying? That the glands around here are coming from the endoderm, while the muscles are coming from the splenic mesoderm. So the epithelium proliferates and partially or completely occludes iglumen, and then there is recanalization at the 8th week. It's important you know this. So there's, okay, I've mentioned the muscles are actually coming from the mesenchyme, the splenic mesoderm, while the glands are coming from the endoderm. Now, look at this. After the development, there could be some challenge. Clinical correlate, esophageal atresia or fistula. This is a normal presentation. You can see a normal presentation. The esophagus opens down till the stomach. The trachea is on its way and divided into two. A normal presentation. Sometimes there is atresia, that is complete blockade. Okay, complete blockade. Sometimes there is a blockade up here and there is a fistula opening into the trachea. Sometimes there are two fistulas, the trachea opening into, that is two fistulas opening from the esophagus into the trachea. And then there is an occlusion here, the atresia. Here also there is an opening into the trachea. There is an occlusion here, and then there is a complete occlusion here, atresia. The stomach is not open at all. Okay, the trachea is not opening, or the esophagus is not opening at all to the trachea. Whereas in some cases, both up and down, the trachea is the esophagus does not have any connection to the trachea, but it is completely